3, 2, 1.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Grok Talk, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, GraniteGrok.com. We are your feared, extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from GraniteGrok.com.
Grok Talk.
Welcome to Grok Talk, where the equipment almost always works. Brought to you by GraniteGrok.com and the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers here in lovely Concord, New Hampshire. Remember to check us out on Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and iTunes. Did I say iTunes? Boy, I can't remember.
You did, yes.
Okay, well,
so
Stitcher.
Stitcher, Spreaker, and all the things that sound.
Let's just check Mike, Ed, Mike check.
Mike, check.
Mike, check. Okay,
check,
Mike.
check.
Now let's check with Mike.
Check
Go ahead.
Mike. Yeah. So, Steve, you're actually a technical guy. You work with a company that assembles and ships computers.
My term is engineering support. Yes.
Yeah. Computing type devices of one sort or another. So you're probably aware that the reliability of the whole is a product of the reliability of the parts. Mm-hmm. Meaning, if something is 99.999% reliable, and you put 5 or 6 of them in a chain, you're now down to 99%. Mm-hmm. All of the .999s having disappeared in the multiplication.
That's correct.
And here we are with more and more pieces chained together, and it's not surprising that this reliable equipment occasionally causes us to have a little malfunction.
You know, interestingly enough, another unreliable piece of equipment known as the New Hampshire Attorney General's office recently attempted to begin doing something the right way, and that's part of the reason why Ed's here. I've been talking to people. Everybody on Facebook's excited that Carl Gibson got arrested, but I said they just arrested him. They didn't prosecute him yet.
No, he says he's been asked to turn himself in, and he'll be arraigned on June 22nd. I'll probably be there.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Well, that was a federal charge, though, right?
No, it's a state.
It's a state.
Oh, is it a state?
It wasn't a state. It wasn't a federal election.
Yeah, you know what the RSA is?
No.
666.
6.
No!
Yes, it is. That's funny.
He's going to plead the devil made him do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
Or Budweiser.
He's already said the booze made him do
Yeah,
it.
that's a bull-faced lie. This guy's a professional. He's been doing this all over the country.
Yeah.
Oh,
He got
gosh.
caught here.
I'm so glad he got caught.
I think the
Well,
AG's office.
he's obviously saying that this bud doesn't make you wiser.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We can only hope it sticks.
Yeah, we'll see. I find it hard to believe the AG's office has thrown a Democrat under the bus like this. So I will not believe it till I actually see them prosecute. I watched the Attorney General's office throw the Supreme Court case regarding residence and domicile, and agree that residence means domicile means residence, and I watched that.
Well, there's been a number of cases where they've announced that they've arrested somebody for double voting, but then you never hear about it again.
Well, they failed to arrest the police chief in New London for having young ladies, the co-eds, take their top off. They could photograph them rather than get a speeding ticket. They couldn't find that was a crime.
Yeah, he's been a cop for 25 years. He's been a chief for any number of years, and this is the first time he ever did it.
Back when Kelly Ayotte was the Attorney General, we had some police officers shoot each other in a bank that was under construction at 3 o'clock in the morning when they were in there practicing with loaded weapons. No, there was no problem with that. We've had many police officers that have absolutely, positively done criminal acts if the AG's office has tried to get them off.
There was a case this week with some Seabrook police officers.
It never ends. So I doubt very much whether they're going to be aggressive in prosecuting this guy, but that's okay because I'm very aggressive in looking into the other states.
And it gets a lot of press, and it gives us a lot of opportunity to put his name out in Google with words like vote suppressor, vote thief, vote fraud.
Liberal, socialist, Democrat activist.
Correct.
Double voter, double registered Connecticut. He's registered in Connecticut.
Another place, too.
He's registered in...
Didn't you find he was registered in 3 places?
He's registered in Connecticut. He's registered in Wisconsin. He's registered over here on Summit Street, 26 Summit Street in Concord. Now, the problem with him is if he's really prosecuted and there was an investigation, we'd know where he actually lives. So he has an apartment in a commune on 244 West Lake Road in Madison, Wisconsin. It really is a commune. It's a commune. It's a 35-unit communal living situation for activists, for gay rights activists.
Really?
And hard left, communist party members, socialist revolutionaries, all live in this commune. They share bicycles and food.
And after a few years,
no
they'll
meat.
condemn the building. No meat.
Well, when you look at it, I looked up the registered voters from that area, and it's like hundreds of people have been through there. So they're not there very long. But he pays between $350 and $400 a month rent. And that makes him liable for Wisconsin income tax, depending on who pays him. So we have an opportunity to find out who pays him. How did he get here? Did SEIU pay him? Did MoveOn.org pay him? He's an independent journalist. Who pays you for that?
Goodness.
We've all written things for different... he also worked for Mississippi Public Radio. He's been interviewed on CNN and MSNBC. So when the Concord Monitor here in town says they don't know who he is and it's just a prank, they know who he is. Ray Buckley knows who he is. If he works for SEIU, that's where Ray Buckley's pet monkey went.
Yeah, Mike Burrell.
He went to SEIU, and now he works for the governor of Pennsylvania, trying to unionize the hospitals, which the SEIU has always tried to do in Pennsylvania.
I mean, you remember, these guys are collectivists.
They know each other.
They admit that they vote in a block, that they think the same way. They know who these people are.
Here's how Carl Robert Homer Gibson is the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, wait, I got something for you when you called him Homer. Hold on, where is it? No! There we go.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we're going to determine what his residence is. Let's say he was actually convicted. He could spend 7 years in jail. Then we'd know where his real residence is. He might have a domicile somewhere else, but his residence would be in jail.
And at that point, all of his voter registrations could be canceled.
No, they exist unless he cancels them or someone cancels them. They don't automatically.
Yeah, even if he's convicted of a felony, they're not going to go.
When you're in jail in New Hampshire, you have to vote where you were arrested or your previous location. You're not allowed to vote in the town where you're under arrest. So if you're in jail in Pembroke, you can't vote there. College students go to college in Hanover; they're allowed to vote there. But if you're in jail, that's how this works. But here's the fun part about Carl Robert Homer Gibson. He's the gift that keeps on giving.
He is.
I just go through and I punch in his name and the stories he's written about and the arrests. I just got a list of 84 people who were arrested in Vermont at an event he was at and wrote about. So I get down the list of names. Gee, I wonder how many of those arrested people are from New Hampshire. Bingo, I have one. And she has a phony name in New Hampshire, but her real first name in Illinois, where she's registered to vote, is Davina. So, Davina, if you're out there listening, I'm coming for you.
What? I don't understand. So they were arrested in Vermont for what?
Protesting. They were told to leave a public area, and they didn't, so they were arrested. May the cycle be unbroken, These are old 1970s anti-war protesters.
And it's still out there?
Well, no. They were arrested recently.
Okay.
These are old-time...
Still doing their thing.
Left. Yeah, I mean, they're ponytails and they're wearing sandals, and the lady have hairier legs than the men. So they're out there getting arrested.
Yeah.
And they have these phony, funny names. This one is, her last name is one of the names in The Hobbit.
Oh.
Now, the communal living situation where Carl Homer lives in Wisconsin, they have a Hobbit named Council. What's the people there, the ones with the bows.
Oh, the elves?
The elves. They have an elven council that controls what they eat.
How freaking crazy is that?
They're living in an alternative universe, and people are paying for this.
Yeah.
So he gets a check somewhere. We're going to find out who pays him. But they get a check to live in this fancy world where they go from city to city, fighting the man and corporate greed, and they're just people that never grew up. So I have a list of them. I have 83 more names to go through and see if they're registered in New Hampshire and how many of these are phony names. Because we're starting to find the phony names now. Like there's 2 in Dover. People that registered to vote, voted. There are no people named these 2 names in America. But they voted in Dover, and then within a week, their name is off the checklist. So
how does that happen? How do they get it off the checklist?
Well, they have help from the people in Dover.
No.
Well, somebody had to take their name off, because if they didn't exist, somebody somewhere somehow took their name off. So we have that to look at. So I'm going to be...
How do you sleep at night?
I don't sleep at night.
I'm telling you, I mean, the corruption is
Steve,
like up to our nose.
Sleep.
Ed.
He watches Red Eye regularly at
right.
its original air time.
I'm there 2 hours before Red Eye.
But seriously, if you're seeing this filth happen at this level all over the place. How do you live with that?
Bother me.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
Truly, it bothers me.
More to the point, how do they live with it? How do they sleep at night?
They have no conscience.
No,
well,
I know.
Obviously not.
They're all sociopaths.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes
But
down
doesn't
to.
it seem
The
hopeless?
little guy on this shoulder said, "Do it, do it, do
They
it."
don't have
It's
little
loud
guys.
and clear, and the guy on this shoulder says, "I don't think you should."
They don't have that.
Gone,
they
they're
don't have
swatted
Yeah,
long since.
They don't have that, but I'm saying on the outside, right? In the world that you're negotiating here and then you're looking at and you're finding
I've
out
been
where
at
it
this
is.
for 30 years. Nothing surprises me.
I just don't know
So
how you could do it.
I see it as an opportunity. Like, we have never damaged the AG's office like we have in the last 3 or 4 years. When we caught the Assistant Attorney General, Mike Brown, let Melissa Shohat vote from his house. Well, he's not prosecuting this case, is he?
No, he's not.
How would he be able to do that? Say, oh, is Melissa going to come testify against him? Maybe she ran into him in her little circle
What
of
is it
friends.
with the AGs? Why can't we get a good
AG
one?
works for the Democrat Party in the state of New Hampshire. That's just the way that
And
it
they
is.
have
Even
for
if
a
there's a
long
governor,
time.
let's say a Republican
We had an AG that was Kelly Ayotte at one time. That didn't help us. So, in fact, she prosecuted Gene Chandler for having a corn roast, but not Ruth Griffin for taking cash from lobbyists. So, I'm familiar with how it works. I understand it. I accept it, but I don't spend my time worrying about it. I spend my time document it, track it, understand it, and when I see this as a gift, when this guy gets arrested, he has to say his real name. He has to give a driver's license. That just leads me. We caught him by his phone number. I got a phone number from the Connecticut registration. Now, he registered to vote in Connecticut, but he didn't vote. But it left me a phone number out of Mississippi, and that's how we tracked him down.
Oh, my God.
So Mississippi led us to Connecticut, and Texas, and Kentucky, and
People are just...
Illinois.
Wisconsin?
And Wisconsin. Yeah, I already had Wisconsin.
They're all fake lives. I mean, they're
well,
all
they're
fake.
activists is what they do.
Yeah.
They're gypsies. They rove around. I mean, all of these professionals.
I had no
You know,
idea.
I don't know. Does Carl fit the profile? Did he have a special gift in high school and he got a degree from a special school?
Well, he
and
went to Moorhead in
Okay.
Kentucky, and he took journalism and social. He took the same stuff they all do.
Yeah, they all
Social
fit the
justice.
profile.
They
They
care
all-
about animals. They
Yeah.
care about welfare. They care. It's a bunch of nonsense.
And then they immediately don't have a real job. They immediately go into government, or they intern for a Democrat, or they get
Well, how
tied
do they
to a
live?
nonprofit.
people
They get
listen.
paid.
People listen to them.
There's tons. You know, we talk about all the money in politics. It's all in these
Where do
NGOs.
you think
It's
it
all in
goes?
these nonprofits. The Democrats pour billions of dollars into these organizations, and they pay these kids to go around the country and screw stuff up for the rest of us.
And then, as non-government activist organizations, they somehow manage to get themselves on the government gravy train like Acorn did for helping people find housing and so on and so forth. But that's never what their main job is. Their main job is always corrupting the country. And
that's their goal.
Their job is to organize and to grow the group.
Yeah.
That's their goal.
Yeah.
Organize.
What's he brag about? I organized thousands of people.
Yeah.
That's what he
their
brags
goal.
about constantly.
Because that gets him, that's on his resume, that gets him the next best
And
job.
so what
in
are
the-
we doing to combat this?
This.
Well, it's
Here we are.
I know, but I mean, do we have groups like that will do the same thing?
Well, I can think of one. Has an acronym, CNHT.
Yeah.
Might
But-
be a
but-
shocker to you, but I've been
No,
at
no, I
this.
understand
I've been
that.
at this for 15 years.
But
Right.
we don't organize mobile troops.
That's what I mean.
Groups like Americans for Prosperity and organizations like that, they have local ground troops that they organize. Those are the people that are part of the Coctopus.
Our people don't do this stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
we have.
Maybe we should.
They have jobs, lives.
No. Our people do, when they're at their best, get out the real voters to counter the cheaters.
Which happened in the Devon Dean Bailey election.
Yeah, we have.
and it happened in 2010. It happened to some extent in 2014, but not for the liberal light candidates, unfortunately. It did, however, happen for some of the more genuine folks who are running for the House, etc. So, without a doubt, we can win. So, let me just sort of couple of anecdotal pieces. So, as part of the steering committee for the 603 Alliance that is attempting to push the primary of the presidential race initially into a more conservative direction, one of the sort of fairly hostile questions we get is, with all this cheating, what are you going to do about it? And really the answer is, we're going to get as many votes as we can behind a good person,
right,
in the hope of overcoming the cheating. And I'll refer to one of my favorite anecdotal statements by Hugh Hewitt, who said, "If it ain't close, they can't cheat." And he actually had a book by that title.
Yeah, I know.
So
It's a good
essentially, the right thing for us to do, unless it gets flipped to the point where there are simply a majority of illegal voters and we can't ever win, is to get out more of our people than they do, is to disillusion and dispirit their regular voters so their cheaters can't knock it over the edge.
All right, we're going to take a really quick break, and we're going to pick this back up on the other side. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
Things are working normally.
This is a coalition of New Hampshire taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is a repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now at the top of our list is voter fraud. You have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.